All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode number 4 of Vinyl Bang. I'm Metal Nick.
I'm Jeff Grindstoffer.
And today's episode, we are discussing part 2 of the 2000s. This is 2006 to 2010. This was a tough one for me. There was a lot of albums that came out that I listened to in the early 2000s that unfortunately I don't own on vinyl, but me and Jeff discussing it over the phone, he mentioned one album that was slipped off my radar that I'm very jealous that you're going to talk about. So, yeah, this is going to be a very fun one.
This is going to be a fun one. There was quite a few albums that I had to filter through to pick these, but I think I got some good ones. Hopefully.
And it doesn't matter if it was repressed after 2010. If the album originally came out in that time, we're good.
Yeah,
you and I've had this discussion multiple times, I believe.
Yeah, the whole whether or not the vinyl was released in the time frame, it doesn't matter. None of this matters. You know,
it doesn't. It doesn't. We know the year it came out. I don't care if it was repressed in 2020. You know,
right?
But you want to go ahead and start this off, bud?
Yeah. And speaking of time frames and when everything was released and questioning this and that. The first one I'm going to start off with is something that I've been itching to put on this show just because it's such an awesome album. Cerebral Bore, Maniacal Miscreation.
Nice.
So this album on Discogs, as listed as the CD, was originally released by Grind Scene Records in August of 2010. And I don't know if Grind Scene Records is still a thing. I don't know if they're still a label, if they're still putting out anything. But I am basing this album off of that information. Now, Wikipedia, the information, the news source is lists this as being released in April of 2011, which would negate this from being a part of this episode, but I don't give a shit. We're doing it in 2010. The vinyl was released in 2012 by ERAS Records. It was done on 4 different variants. And I just randomly grabbed one of the 4 that I own, and I'm hoping that the one that I randomly grabbed blindly without even looking is a clear pressing, and it's not. It's a red.
It's pink.
Translucent red pressing.
Is it red?
Red pressing.
Yeah. It looked pink.
Is it pink?
I thought it was, but I could my eyes are blind as shit. Yeah, that looks pink as shit to me, man.
It does look pretty pink, but in person, it's red.
Okay, I got you.
I promise it's red. This album was the only album done. It was the only full length by Cerebral Bore, and it is a shame. This band is so good. I got to catch them twice on the Summer Slaughter. I don't remember what year that was. And then they did a tour with Malignancy and Dying Fetus.
Yes, I was going to say I've seen them with Dying Fetus in Baltimore when they had the lady on vocals. I forgot her name.
Yeah, Simone Plugimers.
Yep.
I believe was the vocalist. Paul McGuire, who is a homie. I mean, he's been a friend.
Shout out to Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. Paul McGuire, he is a good friend. Whenever I started Grindstoffer Productions back in 2010, he bought a lot of shirts, and he was a big supporter of Grindstoffer Productions. So shout out to Paul for sure. Paul, of course, does the Obscenery films. He does a lot of music videos, video and tour documents. Like he's gone on tour with Defeated Sanity. He's done a lot of work with Dying Fetus.
Yeah, the Dying Fetus guys bring his name up a lot when I talk to those guys. So
Paul is a great guy.
Yep.
Yeah, love that guy. Love that guy. Yeah.
All right. So my first one is a band that's very, very special and important to me. That'd be the Acacia Strain Continent.
Nice.
This album came out in 2008. This was their 4th album. This was the first album they did with just one guitarist. For a while, there were 3 guitarists in the band, and they broke it down to just 2. But this was a cool record. I got to show you what this one looks like, actually, because this was a 2020 repress. But again, you can kind of see it. I don't know.
Haze.
This would be like orange inside of blue. But
that's rad.
This is a very important band to me. I met them many years ago at a show in Virginia, and just stayed in touch with them for many years they would come through and always put me on the guest list. Kevin, the drummer in particular, is a great friend of mine. I can't mention enough great things about that guy. He's actually no longer the drummer of the band. He recently left, but I saw them a couple months back with Dying Fetus and got to catch up with Vince and Griffin and a couple of the other guys. So they're an amazing band. I love them a lot. That album in particular is my favorite one by them. They're still going. A couple of years ago, they put out a series of EPs that spelt out Decay, and it was a cool bunch of releases that they did during quarantine, actually. But
sure,
I love the Acacia Strain. I can't say enough great things about that band. They're a fun live band, and yeah, they've got some really cool releases done some really cool releases over the years. But Continent in particular is my favorite one.
Yeah, I can't remember what my favorite album is from them. It was one of the earlier ones, but they are definitely fun. I did a live stream of Kevin at I want to say it was Warped Tour.
Yeah,
it was 18 or 19. I remember when it was. But Kevin was really cool. He is a buddy of yours. I mean, I'm sure you.
Shout out to Kevin. Yeah, I love that dude to death. He's easily one of my favorite people I've ever met when going to shows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kevin's awesome.
Yeah. What you got next, pal?
My next contribution to this episode is a huge box set of Melvins, A Senile Animal. This is the first album to feature Dale and Jared and Cody from Big Business, which is my second favorite lineup of the Melvins. The first lineup is the original lineup.
Hold that cover up.
That did Ozma and
cool.
You know the earlier material.
Uh-huh.
But A Senile Animal is the first lineup with Jared and Cody. Yeah. They also did Nude with Boots and Bride Scream Murder and Bulls and the Bulls and the Bees. Did a lot of different albums and EPs and stuff. This pressing, they did 3,035 press of the initial vinyl run. This pressing is the one that's limited to 600 that was available only through Hydra Head Records. Each disc, it's a 4-disc thing. Each disc there's audio on one side and the other side isn't etching. And I know the lighting and everything is horrible to try to showcase.
Oh, there you go. It's an elephant.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Every disc is one side audio and the other side isn't etching, which is really, really badass.
That looks cool as shit.
Yeah, this copy has never been played and will never be played. They reissued it back in 21 on a couple different pressings. One of them was like there was a song missing from the album, and then they re-released it and this and that, and it was just a big mess. This artwork was done by Mackie Osborne, who is Buzz's wife. And she has a long list of album covers that I'm sure a lot of people don't know about. She did a couple albums for Tool. She did Salival, Lateralis, 10,000 Days, and contributed to the Fear Inoculum artwork, which is a lot of people probably don't realize that.
No, I had no idea that she did any of that. That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of her artwork is very obscure and very off the wall or whatever, but I mean, she's done some highly acclaimed artwork. She also did Mr. Bungle's California.
Okay.
And doing some research, I discovered, or I found a band that I haven't listened to in probably 15, 20 years, East West Blast Test. Do you remember them? They were an old, obscure, like, probably back in the MySpace days. They were another one of those bands that I discovered on the LAN board back whenever MySpace was a thing. But yeah, she's done a lot of different artworks for different people, and it's just awesome album. It's one of my favorite Melvins albums.
Cool.
Senile Animal.
I'm a total poser, and I'm going to say Houdini's mine, but yeah, that's cool shit, man. I like that etching. That looked really neat.
Yeah.
Sure. All right, my next one is one that a band that you and I are both very familiar with, Misery Index, Traders. This one came out in 2008. It was recorded at God City Studios in somewhere in Massachusetts by Kurt Ballou of Converge. I know they have Guy Kozowick of Red Chord and Tomas Lindberg of At the Gates is on this album. I was actually there when they asked Guy from the Red Chord to be on this album. Mark came up to him at the Auto Bar after a Red Chord set and asked him, and he definitely said he'd be down to be on it.
Nice.
This is actually didn't mean to do that. This is actually the clear pressing of the vinyl. This is the very first relapse clear I ever got, courtesy of my good pal Jason Netherton. Shout out to Jason. This album's really cool. I remember I don't remember what birthday I was celebrating that year, but this album came out in, I think, September. My birthday's in June, and Mark and Adam came over to my friend's house. They had a party for me, and Adam played it for me like months before it came out, and I was really excited to hear the rest of it. I knew that ahead of time the Guy was going to be on it. They told me I think Animosity Animals was recorded by Kurt Ballou, and they really like that production, so I think that's why they chose to put on this album. But yeah, that was a really cool record of theirs. Like I said, it was the first relapse clear I ever got, courtesy of Jason. But I remember that them when they started touring that album and going on a lot of message boards, and people were like, "Dude, that Misery Index drummer is fucking awesome," and that made me feel so good just to read stuff like that, because Adam is a great drummer, and I was glad they were getting a lot of recognition at that time, especially because like they've been grinding it out for years. I think this was their second album with Mark and Jason on it. So, or Mark and Adam, second album with those two on it, and they were definitely hitting the road a lot, and they played a lot of shows in Baltimore those couple years. Anything that came through, they would hop on. So, yeah, Misery Index is a great band. I fucking one of my favorites, actually.
Absolutely, yeah. And those guys, I mean, just collectively, Index have always been, a great group of guys to hang out with, and good friends, good guys.
Yeah, sure. All of them, absolutely.
Well, actually, going off of that, I might change up my order a little bit.
Yeah,
I might change up my order of contributions to this episode. My next album, now that we're on the Index kick, is Magrudergrind.
Yeah,
the self-titled Magrudergrind album. This copy, which was the very first copy I got on vinyl, I'll take it out of the sleeve so you can see a little better, is autographed.
Cool.
By the members of Magrudergrind. I got this autographed whenever they were on tour with Misery Index. In 2010. They played at Foo Bar in St. Louis with Index in March of 2010. This was originally released by Willowtip in 2009, and the original pressing I do not own, unfortunately. It was repressed 6 times, 6 different variants by 6 Weeks Records. I own 5 of the 6. I am missing a mint green pressing, which is the first repress that 6 Weeks did. One of the coolest things about this album, one of the represses that they did on a mint green cover. I always got a big kick out of this, and this was the most recent one that I got. I got it from a buddy of mine, Nick Licata, worked at a record store in St. Louis, and he got a copy of it, and he hit me up. He's like, "Do you have this?" And I said, "You stay right there. You hold that record right there. I'll be right there." So I drove down and bought it. But yeah, and this one is numbered. I forgot to mention that.
No. It's funny you're talking about this, because Jeff, I got a very funny story about this record. This is gonna. I was working a job, and I remember I was working a maintenance job, and I was going to fix a leaky ceiling, and I got a text from you about that record that they were putting it up with that screen printed cover, and it was numbered. So I remember hopping online and buying it, and I think that might have been like the second or third time I bought that record directly from the band, because that's where those came from. And when I got it in the mail and I opened it up, in the back of the box, Avi wrote a little message for me. "What up, son? 301," or he always gives me little shout outs, because Magrudergrind's from around my way. I think Avi lives in Brooklyn now, and I think the only ex-member now who's still out here is Chris and Mark. but I don't know where RJ lives. But I know Avi's up in Brooklyn now, and every time I would buy stuff off directly from him, he would send me a little message in the back of the vinyl. So that or the cardboard it was sent in. So I always miss that shit. That's good stuff. That's a good record. And I remember you picking that, telling me that you were going to pick that, and I was like, damn it.
Yeah,
that is a great album.
That album is another one of those it's almost like a rite of passage. Like if you listen to Grind, you have to listen to that album just because it's so fucking good, beginning to end. And even
Bridge Runner is fucking amazing.
Like Heavy Bombing, all of it is just just so good.
Oof.
So good. And while we're discussing band member, shout out to Chris Moore. Fucking love that guy. Chris Moore is awesome. Always been a good dude to me. I've seen him several times throughout the years, and it just
he's the human drum machine, Chris Moore, and he's a great sound guy too. Most people don't know this about him, but he'll do sound, and he will make you sound like $1 million fucking bucks. Shout out to Chris Moore. He's
absolutely
All right. My next one is another quintessential 2010s album or 2000s album, but it came out in 2010. Nails, Unsilent Death.
Nice.
This is originally put out by Southern Lord, but when it was pressed on vinyl, the first pressing was put out by Street Cleaner Records, and I have a pink pressing of it. I don't know if you can see that or not.
I think I have that one too.
The back is a little different. I didn't bring any of my Southern Lords out off the shelf, but this is what the back of it looks like. I remember Jason Netherton and Misery Index telling me about this band, and a few months later they played Maryland Death Fest that year, and just fucking blew me away. And it was like years before I got to see them ever again. Like they didn't tour too much, or when they did, it always came to like Philadelphia. But I just saw they're putting out they just finished recording a new album, so they should expect something hopefully before this year is over. But this was a great fucking album. There was like a big argument over whether this is grindcore or hardcore. It sounded grindcore to me. But people want to label them as hardcore, whatever. I'm not going to get into these arguments about what genre your band is, but this fucking album is just great. I mean, like, I don't even know what to say. Like, every time I've met Todd, he's been really nice to me. I know a lot of people that are close with him. I know our boy Leon was in the band for a short bit, but great fucking record. If you do not know this album, go check it out. They're a fun fucking, or just brutal fucking band. Like, great live, and I wish we'd get more shows from them because they, just epic. Hopefully, with this new record coming out, they're gonna tour some more. So
yeah, hopefully they'll tour on that album for sure. The last time I saw Nails was in I believe it was in Brooklyn. Yeah, it was whenever my wife and I took my daughter out there for
cool.
Her high school graduation present. But the last time I saw Nails was with Misery Index. We can almost do like a 6 degrees of Misery Index episode with this one, just because everybody has toured with those guys. But and Jade Stevens is a big fan. Every time I think of Nails now, I always think of Jade because he's such a huge fan of Nails.
Oh yeah.
Jade.
He's asked me a couple times about them. I've shown him what I've got. I got a lot of stuff actually.
Yeah, I've got a few pressings of Unsilent Death, and I believe I have that pink pressing.
Yeah, I think I got the clear one because you showed me that Southern Lord was selling them, but
yeah,
I don't have them all. I think I have like a standard black, and then I got that pink one, and then their first album just came in like a white sleeve with like a sticker on it that had like the track listing.
Yeah, that's right. And they did a 7-inch that you and I were going apeshit over whenever they
I had a friend who lived in San Francisco, and she went out to a show and bought me both the blue one and the black one.
Yeah,
and I asked her to get me two because I was going to get you one, and she I don't know,
dropped the ball.
The rest of the money and drank with it.
Typical. That's how that goes. Jeff always gets the short end of the stick.
Yeah, right.
Episode over. Cut. All right. So my next contribution is one of my highlighted, my most valued vinyl that I own. It is probably one of my top 3 favorite Meshuggah albums. This is Obscene, an OG pressing from 2008. Yeah, an OG Nuclear Blast 2008 pressing of Obscene. This is the first pressing they did. There's 2000 on a red translucent We'll see how this looks in the light. It says it's red, and it is red, but we'll see if it looks pink in person.
No, it's it. Maybe your light is. It's red. It is red. I know somebody who has that record, and it's definitely red. But maybe your light is just so bright today.
It's the Missouri lighting.
Yeah.
Midwest Missouri lighting. This is the of course the fifth album from what's that?
It does look pink, but I know for a fact that album is red.
Yeah, it's translucent red. This is of course the fifth album from Meshuggah, and it is absolutely one of my favorites. I mean, it's hard to put them all in order, but Obscene is just such a good record. And they've reissued this a couple of times over the last couple of years, but the only cover, the way you can get this cover with the original uncensored artwork is the first pressing. So pretty cool to have.
Yeah, I know I've seen a lot of videos where people will play like the drum video of Bleed for like jazz drummers, and their heads explode by his footwork on that.
Oh, sure.
I mean, that's a very difficult thing to try to figure out, but I remember seeing them when that album came out. They toured with Ministry, and it was the first time I ever went to Ramset in Baltimore, and that show sounded terrible. I could even see they were frustrated on stage, but
them and
I've seen it a few times since then. They've definitely pulled those songs off live pretty well, I guess. But
wow,
yeah,
them and Ministry would be a weird mashup, but I'd go see that tour for sure.
It was like one of Ministry's it's called the See You Lay tour, and then they kept touring after that.
Well, of course, they've done like 15 final tours.
Yeah, but
this is it for real.
All right. My next one is a band that I love to death. They're called Black Breath, Heavy Breathing.
Nice.
This is a band that I discovered because a couple years ago when I was working at Maryland Death Fest, I was asked to film bands and for a DVD, and this was one of the bands that I was asked to do. And I was just blown away. I was like, how have I not heard of this band? I don't know if they were on tour with Converge at the time or who, but I remember going to their merch table and buying like this and a couple other like shirts and records and just trying to discover what I could about this band. Clear blue vinyl.
Nice.
They're amazing live, very underrated. Their bass player passed away a couple of years ago, 2019, the very end of 2019. Which breaks my heart. He was a real nice guy. Him and the singer I used to kick it with a lot whenever they came around. I think they have 3 full lengths and an EP. A very underrated band. Like I'm sure a lot of people have seen me wearing this shirt. This album in particular is great. I mean, the one that came after it, I love to death. One of my favorite songs ever is on that album. But Heavy Breathing is the one that because it made it at the end. It came out in 2010. It was pressed 7 times. Kurt Ballou produced this album as well. Another one from the gentleman from Converge. People just love his work, I guess. But yeah, I'm a little bummed after Eli the bassist passed away. I don't think they're a band anymore. I ran into somebody a few years ago at the Decibel Festival, told me that he doesn't think they're a band anymore. So that sucks, but definitely a cool band to if you've ever seen them live. They were great live, great live band. I
can't remember if I was at that Death Fest helping the film for that DVD or not, but I do remember the band. I never got into them as much as you do. I know you're a big fan. You know, you've always talked.
I think you were this was the first year that they did like that stage outside. I think it might have been the second year because yeah, I remember them playing and like I had to miss somebody while I was filming them, but I was like not mad after that.
Mm-hmm. The outside stage, like outside of Sonar or the Edison lot?
Sonar.
Because outside of Sonar, the first year they did that was 09.
Yeah. So I think this was 2010. Outside. So they had like that stage like up on that hill as well.
Mm-hmm.
Pestilence and somebody else played maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
got my years mixed up probably.
A long time ago. Yeah, that shit happens, man. Getting old. It's like, all right. So my next contribution to this episode is not metal, but I'm sure is appreciated by a lot of the metal community. Hank Williams III, Straight to Hell. This is the 2022 pressing. It was originally released in 2006 on Bruck Records, which I have learned that was an offset of Curb Records, which Bruck is just Curb backwards. Yeah, this is like this album when it first came out. I was going to record stores. I had just moved to the town I live in now in Fulton, and I was going to Street Side Records in Columbia, and just randomly picking up albums on CD. Just if the album looked cool or if the artwork looked cool, I'd pick it up and check it out. And this time I was talking to a buddy of mine from St. Louis, Jordan Gaw, from Final Drive and Against the Grave. Jordan's been a staple in the music scene for a long time. He does a lot of work behind the scenes. But I was talking to him, and he said, if you've never heard of Hank 3, you need to pick up Straight to Hell. You need to pick up this album. And it's been a staple ever since. I mean, this album is just so fucking good, for a country record. He has a lot of his grandpa's roots. I mean, it sounds like a Hank Williams Sr. album.
For sure.
So good, so good. I've seen Hank a couple of times throughout the years. I've seen him with like Ass Jack and Attention Deficit Dysfunction or whatever whatever that project's called. And he is a true musician. I love watching Hank III. He is a great musician. Last year, my family went to see a relative of ours down in Arizona, and I found a picture disc of the medley track, the hidden track from the vinyl release that was never released on vinyl. It's not part of the official vinyl that you can grab in stores, but I found this picture disc that has the hidden track medley, which contains a slowed down version of Smokin' Wine, which is a song on the Straight to Hell album, and Up in Smoke by Cheech and Chong. Amongst other, there's like 10 or 12 songs that are all medleyed on this. It's like a 45-minute song, but pretty cool to find just out in the wild. The Hank III Straight to Hell bonus medley picture disc. So
that's some cool shit. Yeah, a buddy of mine, Chris Arp, who plays guitar for Psyopus, he played guitar in Ass Jack, and I met Hank a couple times back when he was like in Superjoint Ritual. And then I guess when he started doing his solo touring, because I was a little late on that, that's when that album's came out, and I'd seen him a few times supporting that record. But yeah, I remember Chris Arp from Psyopus getting me on his bus and backstage a few times. Actually, maybe if you could see it, there's this poster back here signed by Hank.
Oh, right on. Yeah, it is autographed. That's cool.
Yeah, I got that when they played with Psyopus in DC, but he was a nice guy. He's always been really cool. I got some crazy stories about times on his bus, but I can't share those. We were listening to
family show, Nick.
We were listening to Cypress Hill. That's all I can say. Yeah.
You picked the wrong day to quit sniffing glue. I've been
Right.
wanting to say it the entire time. I wanted to say that since we started recording.
Yeah, Hank is great. I've got a lot of cool stories about him. Real nice dude.
Absolutely.
I didn't know who his grandfather was for many years. I always knew Hank Jr. because of the Monday Night Football stuff. But then when I met Hank III, a lot of people were educating me on who his grandpa was, and yeah, it's sometimes they look and even sound uncanny. It's ridiculous, but
yeah, it is.
That's some good shit. All right, my next one, Cannabis Corpse, Blunted at Birth. This came out on Force Field Records in I don't have what year it came out. I think it was 2007, I believe. But this is a band featuring Landfill from Municipal Waste, Phil Hall, and his twin brother. I can't think of his brother's name right now. I'm drawing a blank. But the Hall twins are on this record, And I remember they went on. They were talking about this. If you're familiar with Cannibal Corpse, a lot of these song titles are just like not parody songs, but Blunted at Birth, Staring Through My Eyes That Are Red, Reefer Stashed Place, Force Fed Shitty Grass, I Come Bud, I Will Smoke You, When Weed Replaces Life. This came out in 2006. I'm sorry, but this album,
Cannibal Corpse songs with weed references.
You're basically replacing Cannibal Corpse songs with weed references. I remember Phil one year at Maryland Death Fest was walking through the parking lot and he was selling this on vinyl, and I bought this. It's a Bloodshot Eye, if you can see that.
Oh, that is, yeah, that's a good pressing for sure.
Yeah. Fucking, I love this band a lot. I've tried to throw out suggestions for song titles for because now they're doing like other death metal bands, but yeah, this is some good shit. This was their first one. It's not their best recording, but this is a very classic album, and they put out quite a few stuff since then. I think they're on Seasons of Mist now, but yeah, it was a cool one to get. I laugh at some of these song titles, you know. I've always suggested Covered in Seeds, like Covered in Sores, but I didn't think that resonated well with them, so they went on with other shit. But
I've got that album on cassette.
Yeah,
the green shell cassette, and
for sure,
that's a good album.
Yeah, it is.
Fun. It's fun.
Very fun band, man. All right.
Moving on, moving away from the drug marijuana referenced music. My last contribution for this episode is going back to cattle decapitation, which I haven't mentioned since the first episode, which I mentioned a lot. Travis, you're welcome. This episode, or this vinyl, it was originally released in 2009. The picture disc, which is autographed by the band. I got this autographed during the Harvest Floor tour in 2009, and I posted this during the anniversary for the album. And apparently, Josh no longer signs the hardcore whatever this is here. He doesn't sign records the same way anymore. So that's pretty cool to have an original signature from Josh. For years and years and years, this was the only pressing on vinyl that they had. And then in 2014, Metal Blade released an actual. They did 2 or 3 different pressings in 2014. But one of the first things I did whenever I got this was throw it on the turntable, just because this is one of my favorite Cattle Decapitation albums. I mean, it probably is my absolute favorite Cattle album. And to hear it on vinyl for the first time was a surreal experience for sure. Because I always say, the vinyl sounds better than CDs or streaming or whatever. And just to hear my favorite Cattle album on vinyl was definitely a cool moment. In 2021, the Nessie record label out of Japan.
There you go.
Now that I've done fucking research and I know I'm not just trying to pull all this information out of thin air. Nessie released this press. They did 4 different pressings. And again, the Nessie pressings just sound incredible. They sound absolutely incredible. The pressing itself is pretty badass as well. Aside from the obi strip and all that being aesthetically pleasing, the vinyl. Hopefully, this one looks good. You can see it in the light. Anyway, they released 4 different pressings, and then Metal Blade re-released it again in 2022 on 7 different pressings.
Those Cattle Decapitation guys and their fucking money, huh?
Right.
Also, if you people can't tell, Jeff is clearly not a fan of Cattle Decapitation. I mean, he can't stop talking about this band and the records that he collects from them because he clearly hates this band so much. So
they're okay.
Yeah, they're all right.
In between eating hamburgers, they're a good they're a good band for grilling the steaks. in the backyard.
They're not going to be happy about any of this.
No, Travis too. Episode with us now.
We're never going to talk to either of those two ever again. All right. My last contribution here is another band that I was very close with. They're called Psyopus. They're from Rochester, New York.
Yes.
This album, Our Puzzling Encounters Considered, this was their second full length. It came out on Metal Blade Records in 2007. It didn't get released on vinyl until 2021 on Silent Pendulum Records, which is Michael Cadner of Number 12 Who Looks Like You. He's the drummer of that band. This is his label. He's put out quite a few bands like Into the Moat and repressed a lot of stuff from like the early 2000s that was never put on vinyl. But he's got, I think, a few bands of his own that he's put out on there. I can't think any of them off the top of my head. I apologize, Michael. When this album, I don't remember when it came out. I remember seeing Psyopus, Job for a Cowboy, The Acacia Strain, and Doth at the Auto Bar. And Adam gave me a copy of this CD, and I think it was at least like 3 or 4 months before it came out in stores. But when it got pressed on vinyl, Silent Pendulum did them great justice, man. They look at this one right here.
Oh, it's the half and half.
Yeah. This is one of them. I got another one over here.
Don't flash it back to me because I'm looking to see which one I got. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, he did a couple pressings, with these types of records. They sell out fast, and I know I still talk every now and then to the drummer, John the Brutal, and he's got a couple. He's got a test press and some other neat-looking alternate cover ones, and the singer Adam, I'm still in touch with. He's got a new band called Sully with Eric, who used to be in like Brutal Truth, and I can't remember some other bands that he was in, but Eric Burke. But yeah, Psyopus is a fucking killer band. Like I don't think I've ever missed them when they came through Baltimore. Maybe once I did, but they were great buds of mine. Adam, I still text with him every now and then, and Chris Arp is just one of the craziest guitar players I've ever seen in my life. Like the shit that guy does, he's like a fucking magician on that thing. But they were a cool band. At some point, a lot of the OG members or a lot of the members left, and they were replaced by other guys. And I think they put out a third album called Odd Senses. And I don't know how much longer they were a band after that, but I know that a lot of their stuff's getting repressed on vinyl right now, which is good for people like you and me who enjoy that stuff. But yeah, that was my 2006 to 2010 records. Like I said, a lot of stuff that I listened to that didn't get put out on vinyl, unfortunately. So like it was hard picking these, and as soon as you mentioned Magrudergrind, I was like, motherfucker.
Wow, such language. Going back to Psyopus real quick, Silent Pendulum, they just re-released, or they just released Odd Senses on vinyl.
Yeah,
and I believe as of this recording that there's still a couple of them left. I got one as soon as they went up. I mean, like
cool.
Right at noon, as soon as they went up, I buying Odd Senses on vinyl just because it's killer record. I like Odd Senses a lot.
He's put out quite a few good stuff. The First Glass Casket. I tried snatching like some rare one. I got two different copies, but there was, the Into the Moat ones were the ones I really wanted, like the EP, and I missed out on the design. I think I got like a basic black copy, but I love that album. I spun it a few times. It's a great fucking record. So shout out to Silent Pendulum Records. That guy's put out some really cool shit, and
for sure,
even the stuff that I haven't listened to. I'm sure it's good stuff. I know a lot of people are supporting this guy and his label, so props to him for doing that. That's a hard thing to do. Start your own record labels. I'm sure it's very frustrating.
Yeah. All right.
Well, cool.
That'll wrap up this episode of the late 2000s, 2006 to 2010.
Yeah,
it's been a good episode. It was fun.
Yeah, and cheers to everybody. When this episode is being recorded, our first episode finally dropped. So thank you to everybody who watched. To those who are saying I need more Autopsy, duly noted. I'll go find myself some Autopsy. But this has been great so far. This is episode 4. Me and Jeff, we're hopefully planning on getting some of our friends and as guests on this show with us, because it's going to be a wild ride. There's a lot of you that got some cool record collections out there that we're very interested in seeing, and hopefully we can share with the rest of the world here. So thank you everybody for watching. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Jeff.
Absolutely. Thank you all again. The response so far has been pretty good.
Yeah,
a lot of texts and Facebook messages and stuff saying that everything's turned out well, and we appreciate that. We really do appreciate this. This is a fun little thing that we started because of JR, and we just kind of kept going with it just because it's fun. I mean, Nick and I are friends. We've been we keep in regular contact with each other, and now we get to piss each other off with our record collections because Nick has better records than I do. So
it's not true. Not true.
But
Adam Jarvis for that beef.
Adam, again, we got to stop. We're gonna have to get him on the show. Adam, if you're listening and you're watching these, we're gonna have to get you on the show
for sure.
It's got to happen. It's got to happen.
All right, thanks again for watching, and we will see you guys next week.
See you guys.